Hi caterpillars and munchkins. I went on a nature walk this morning and gathered up some treasures in my bag. I brought them back so that we can do a little experiment. We're going to test the items in my bag in a bowl of water to see if they sink or float. Remember, sink means they would fall to the bottom of the bowl, and float means they would float on top of the water. So first, let's take a look at what I found. This is a stick with some moss growing on it. Now, I thought I would take the moss off so that we can try two things. We can try, will the moss float and will the stick float? So that's one of my treasures. Another is just a bigger stick. Will it float or will only little sticks float? Let's check it out. What else did I find? Ah, a pine cone. Sink or float? You be thinking. Ooh, a prickly sweet gum ball. Remember seeing these before? Very prickly, full of holes. I'm not sure what it will do. Got a couple large leaves that we can try. A little small leaf. And some pine needles off of a pine tree. Will these sink or will they float? Let's see, what else? Oh, I found one of these. You might remember seeing them on campus at Parrish. I forget which kind of tree they fall out of, but I thought since we had those at school, we might see if it'll sink or float. And the only other thing was a small stick. So remember, I have that big stick and a little stick, and the stick that the moss was on. So we can have 3 tries to see which stick will float or which stick will sink. Are you ready to get started? I'm going to move the camera so that you can see my bowl of water, and then I'll describe for you each item as I put it in, and we'll see, does it sink or does it float? Hold on. So here's my bowl of water, and we can get started. I'm really excited about the pine cone, so let's try that first. Will it sink? Will it float? It's kind of big, which makes me think it would sink, but it's not very heavy. Let's find out. Are you ready? It floats. You can blow it like a boat. Well, that was pretty cool. I didn't know that a pine cone will float. Take that out of the bowl. What can we try next? Let's try the big stick. Here we go. Even though it's big, it's floating. Let's try all 3. Here's the little stick, and here's the medium stick. They all 3 float. So sticks float. Maybe we could make a boat out of sticks. Just an idea. Let's take those out and try something else. have two rocks, kind of a big one and a smaller one, and let's see if they float. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Did you hear that? They hit the bottom of the bowl. The rocks sink. Both of them sank to the bottom of the bowl. So sticks and pine cones float, but rocks definitely sink. Okay. Leaves. Here's our leaves. Let's lay them on. Oh, they float. If I put water on top of them, will they still float? They seem to be still floating. Look at the brown one. Oh yes, even though I put it under the water, it's still floating on top. Two little leaf boats. Well, we certainly seem to have more luck with items that float than sink. Oh, here's our prickly sweet gum ball. Will it sink? Nope, it floats. Let's try some of that moss. Here's the moss. Oh, it floats. It certainly does. And pine needles. There's one pine needle. Here's another one. They are floating also. How about that little seed ball that came off of a tree, like the one we have at school? This. Let's see. It's floating. What if I push it to the bottom? Will it come back up? Push it to the bottom. Oh, it sure does. It pops right up. There it is on the bottom. It came up to the top. My sweet gum ball is still floating. And we tried the big leaves. Let's see if a little leaf will float. Oh yes. You know, I think you could get some leaves and have a leaf race by blowing on the leaves and see who can get to the other side of the bowl fastest. Well, these were the things I found on my nature walk this morning, and I could look around my yard for other things, but I've pretty much used them. So I wonder what you will find. Will you find things like the rocks that sink to the bottom? Or will you find things like the stick and the pine cone that float to the top? Check around your yard or on your next nature walk and see what you can find. Take a guess. Will it sink or will it float? Get outside, have some fun, and I'll see you next week. Bye.